and welcome to the Superhero Podcast. And yes, today we're having another discussion. And well, as a very faithful film has come out within the past week and a half, and well, I have a few things to say about it, but not the entire discussion of this video. I'm here with a very special guest, as he's been on the show before. He's the head of NerdSync Productions. Please welcome Scott to the show. Hey Scott, how you doing?
Ooh, it's good to be back.
Oh, we had a great time last time, and I had quite a few requests asking for you back on another video, so I'm glad to have you back as well. Yeah!
Oh, that's so nice! See, because I thought that I had a pretty unpopular opinion on event comics, so I was worried people would be like, this guy, get him out of here, never invite him back, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
I got quite a few good comments on your end, because lots of people were agreeing with you. Lots of people took that opinion that you took, like, although you may not have read that many modern day event comics, they took your view that maybe some of the things need to change, and it was good to hear from them. So this episode of the Superhero Podcast, we're going to be talking about something that is a main staple hold within the film industry today, the superhero genre. I mean, it's not called the action genre, it's not the fantasy genre anymore, it is pretty much the superhero genre. And we've got many different studios in the mix nowadays. We have Marvel with Disney, we have DC with Warner Brothers, and we have Fox with Fox. But basically, this had been brewing for about nearly a year, that this film was probably going to be bad, but I don't think anyone estimated as to how bad it was actually going to be.
Yeah.
So we're of course talking about Fantastic Four, or Four-tastic Four, or Fanfodic, or whatever you want to call it. But
yeah.
Scott, do you want to start off with how you thought of it before
I
go into
so to preface my opinion about it, I genuinely thought, because we didn't get a trailer for this movie until like earlier this year.
Oh yeah,
and
it's been a month and a half before.
Yeah, and it was pretty lackluster, but for like years prior to that, we had been hearing like, oh, here's the Fantastic Four movies coming out, here's what it's going to be about, here's the cast list and everything, and there was no news about it in terms of like actual like official production stuff, like no trailers, no photography or anything. It was just nothing. And
well, so I had that picture of Bin Bag Doom when he was actually wearing a bin bag on set.
Oh, that's right. But for the most part, during the whole like marketing for this movie, during like the years that it was being made, I had a strong feeling that it was not actually going to get made. Like they kept talking about it, and I was just like, no, this is just some big hoax or rumor or something. It's not actually being made. And then of course they dropped the trailer on us, and months later we finally get to actually see the finished product. And honestly, I would like to go into more detail about this as it relates to today's topic.
Far away.
But my opinion of it overall, probably another unpopular opinion of it, I did not hate this movie. I didn't like it at all, but I didn't hate it as much as people are ranting about it on the internet. Yeah. I feel like the movie to me was highly forgettable, but in that sense where I walked away questioning whether or not I actually saw the movie, because I couldn't remember anything. It's not so bad as Green Lantern, where I still have memories in my brain about how much I didn't like that movie. This movie is just like, okay, that was a movie, it exists now, let's move on to the next one. My
general opinion of it as a whole would be that I too kind of agree with you, because I explained this to my sister the other day, basically, the whole saga of how this actually came about. It was like 2013, and the rights were going to run out for the Fantastic Four franchise, and they were going to go back to Marvel, which I think everyone would have gone, yeah, actually, might be something good from that.
Yeah.
And then suddenly Fox go, oh yeah, no, we've got a script, it's ready, we penciled out for this year, 2015, it's coming out. And then what's even worse is nothing for San Diego Comic-Con 2014. Absolutely nothing. Not even the cast show up. And immediately
that was so weird.
And immediately everyone goes, okay, warning bells. You've got a year, or less than a year, to make this film. You supposedly have a script, you supposedly have a cast, and you supposedly have a director. And then they say, well, no, it's the director from Chronicle. Everyone likes Chronicle, right? Everyone goes,
it's a good movie, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a good movie, but I don't know if you could do like a proper superhero film. Oh. And then it gets even worse, because then you have people have cast interviews where people goes, Oh, yeah, and the actor for Doom, he goes, "Oh yeah, he's a blogger. He's a web activist."
Mm-hmm.
I think this was my overall junction of the film, and again, I'm kind of following your opinion as well. I didn't hate it, but I would say I thoroughly disliked it.
Yeah.
To the point where I thought, why did they think this was the movie people wanted to see, when they can clearly take a look at other competitors and say, maybe we should take a leaf or two out of their book and not perhaps make it like we did. I mean, it gets even worse days after because you get opening weekend results and it absolutely bombed at the box office.
Yeah.
Then you get review. I mean, even worse, press release barely. It gets delayed by a couple of days. Then the cast come out and say, we haven't even seen the final product yet. That's normal, but if you haven't even shown the cast even a polished version of what the end is going to be, then it's immediately like I'm saying, okay, how much editing did this take? And then you hear stories of the director showing up on set drunk, or he's off his head. And then the final nail in the coffin would be that the director actually said, and I quote, "This isn't the movie I wanted to make. This wasn't the movie I left with. I just wanted to know everyone I had a different vision for this film." So, we have... So the question that we have to ask is, in a second, because it's going to follow into my next point, but again... I'd say, breaking it down into 3 acts, the film basically goes like this, and it's not a spoiler. I mean, if I drop a spoiler or two, it doesn't matter, because you won't regret hearing them.
Yeah.
Act 1, flashback into main plot device. Flashback 2, drunk idiots go through portal and ended up causing their own problems, which ended up being the problems for Earth in the first place, and pretty much could all be sorted out if everyone just shut up and sat down and talked to each other. And number 3, final act. Oh my god, it made no sense. It was stupid.
No.
And ultimately, I felt the entire thing was just filmed in one location, and CGI was a huge, huge use in this film.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Probably about 90% of the movie is in that one location.
Is in that one hangar or a hallway. Is this another case of studios getting involved within the creative discussion of the film? Because obviously they get final say on the project. And we had this same problem with the Spider-Man franchise years ago with Spider-Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. They're sticking their fingers into the director's project. Is it that kind of thing now that actually happened with Fantastic Four, do you reckon?
Yeah, I really do. I think that it had a really big part of it was that the studio got really worried. Whenever they would release anything about the film, the internet was always so angry about it. And so I think a lot of it was them trying to, go back over, and try to do everything over to try and make the internet happy. Try to find something that will make the internet happy, but you can't make the internet happy. You just have to let the creative people behind the project, you have to give them control and trust that they have the right vision for it, because that's what you're hiring them for. So I feel like a big part of it is just they got scared. They thought they were going to lose a lot of money, so they tried to change things up, and then they ended up probably losing more money that way.
Exactly. But then, totally polar opposite. A few days earlier, we have the release of the Deadpool trailer, which everyone saw at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, Fox is making a good film again. It could be a great film. It could be really funny. But then you just take a note, you think, well, wait a minute, why couldn't you have thought about this? Thinking, well, maybe if we want to go in this kind of direction with our films, maybe think about applying that to the Fantastic Four film. Nope. It's too late. It's out the door, and they can't do anything about it. Yeah. And obviously, with regards to what happens, maybe the plans for the X-Men TV show, which could be pretty cool if it happened, and you have the plans for maybe a reboot of they pretty much have rebooted the X-Men now because of the end of X-Men Days of Future Past. Spoiler! Yeah. The film's a year old, so what the hell? So my point is to make, are Fox just really bad at this?
They're in a good pattern with X-Men movies. The last few have been pretty good. They haven't been super terrible, in my opinion, but they've been okay. They've been enjoyable. They're fine. But with something like Deadpool that you were talking about coming out, that's something that's really interesting to me, because I feel like, especially with the juxtaposition of like Deadpool and Fantastic Four, you could tell that Fox is trying to do something different with their superhero movies. And
definitely.
with Fantastic Four, there are these glimpses of really great moments in there that is completely overshadowed by just a horrible mess of everything else. Like, I really liked the moments of Fantastic Four that kind of felt more like a horror film, where everyone was like dealing with the ramifications of like getting powers and what that does to them like psychologically, and how it was portrayed like as a horrible, horrible thing instead of like a gift of superpowers. Yeah. And then of course you had at the end Doom comes along and just starts exploding people's heads. Like that scene was kind of crazy to me. That was like the moment that I sat up in my chair and I was like, well, hold on now. I can get behind this. Maybe
they've grown a spine.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And so I felt like there were those moments that I'm like, if they just made the whole movie like a kind of a horror type vibe with these characters, they would be doing something different, which is a lot, we don't get that a lot with other Marvel movies, which are basically, I don't want to say they're cookie cutter, I don't think they're necessarily cookie cutter movies, but it's something completely different, and I really would have liked them to explore that a little bit more. And then with Deadpool you have as well, it's something, again, that's gonna be pretty drastically different. You've got, number one, it's an R-rated movie, which is something that is, for a superhero movie,
definitely new to see, apart from, Daredevil.
Right. But so you have that. You have a character that's going to be breaking the fourth wall. It's going to have strong language and like tons of awesome violence and everything. And it's going to be totally radically different. But there's the problem in there that the general audience, the general movie-going audience, might not know who that character is. And so when they put out that movie, and if it doesn't do so well, then they're gonna see that and go, well, we tried doing something different. It obviously didn't work. Let's go try and go back to the other stuff that we've been doing, because that's at least somewhat profitable. And so I feel like we as comics fans, even if you're not a fan of Deadpool, like I'm not a huge fan of Deadpool, but I'm going to go see that movie because I want to support that, like a different type of superhero movies. That way, we're not going to constantly be getting the same stuff.
I would say it's good to see that. It'd be a miracle to see, because it's the first, like you said, an R-rated movie that's going to be out that kids won't be able to see, and it'll damage them sort of in the merchandise, because they can't sell toys and things like that to kids, because kids will go, well, you couldn't see that film, so we don't know what these are meant to be.
Right.
And of course, that's the major worry for Fox on my front, is they are taking, although I'm glad they're going to do it, it's a big risk secluding that age gap, because the main money they get are from kids with adults going into these movies and saying, oh wow, Superman, oh well, Batman, Iron Man, I want to buy that toy, and that's how they make their money back, realistically. Mm-hmm. And that is a big pitfall for Fox to take that risk. But ultimately, it could pay off for them, because I'm looking forward to seeing the movie. I don't like the character that much. My housemate will have a go at me for this, and Max, I'm calling you out. But it's the fact that I don't like the character because of he just doesn't mix with me. But I'm looking forward to the movie. And again, another gripe I have, we kind of like seeing the trailer and everything, some of the jokes might get dated. Replayability will go down the toilet pretty quickly if people are used to the jokes and references. Even in the trailer you get 90s references from the Spice Girls and Rosie O'Donnell.
I know that's a big complaint from people as well. I will say that my favorite movie of all time is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which is a comic.
One of my favorites as well.
Which is a comic book movie. It's completely so different from any other comic book movie out there. And I feel like, that's another one of those cases that it didn't really do so well in theaters. And that's the kind of thing where I want to support these kind of different takes on superhero movies. So even though I'm not a big fan of Deadpool, I'm gonna go see the movie. The trailer looks pretty good. I might actually enjoy it. And so with Fantastic Four, if it was just, if they stuck to one genre, because that's what I felt like this movie did. It jumped genres a lot.
It had no idea what it was trying to do.
No. No. But if they stuck to one and it was kind of different, and even if it was something that was completely different from the comics, if it was still good, if it was just something like, that horror vibe that we kind of got at some points in the movie, I would have been fine with that, and so I would have at least liked to have, I just want to support these kind of movies that try something new.
Well, going back to your earlier point of saying that you didn't want to call Marvel movies cookie-cutter kind of movies.
Yeah.
Last month we got the release of Ant-Man, which I did my own review of it on my channel. I said it was pretty damn awesome for like a kind of a low-budgeted Marvel movie in a way.
Yeah.
Effects were amazing. Got the best part of the film. The effects were incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And I said it's glad to see something new, and it's a shame we'll never get to see the Edgar Wright version of the film, although it's nice to see that they were originally credited with the idea of the story and everything.
Yeah, that was neat.
But then I pointed that to your point, saying, oh, maybe Marvel will worry that Edgar Wright's film would be too out there, and it'd be like Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
So would they lose money in that kind of forefront? If they were just going to make it a heist film and not kind of a Marvelized film?
See, that's my biggest complaint about Ant-Man, is I had a really fun time watching the movie. Mm-hmm. It was a blast. I saw it multiple times, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed about maybe 3/4 of it. The first 3/4, when it was just trying to be a heist movie, I was like, this is pretty awesome. I like this, because heist movies are one of my favorite types of movies of all time. Mm-hmm. And then, right at the end, when it stops being a heist movie and it turns into an action movie, I thought that was, in my opinion, I thought that was the weakest part of the movie.
So the final fight and everything and that?
Yeah. It was fun to watch, but I just felt like it stopped being a heist movie for me. Because one of my favorite things about a heist movie is the point when the villain thinks that he figured it out, but really they're like, oh, nope. We planned for that, and it was all according to plan the whole time, and that just never happened. And, the villain actually stopped the heist, and then they just had to punch their way out to victory. And, and that's something that a lot of the Marvel movies are trying to do more now, is instead of just being these action movies, they're trying to be other genres, like heist movies, or like political thrillers with Winter Soldier, that kind of stuff. But they of course have to mix in a ton of action to sell it, to make it more fun and entertaining. And I feel like if we want superhero movies to continue, we should stop relying on so much action and have, I'd say fully commit to like that one type of genre. Like if Ant-Man was fully committed to being a heist film, then I think it would have been probably my favorite movie. It was still a good movie, as I said, but it just didn't, the last fighting scene, it was nice, but it just felt completely out of place for me.
Exactly. I mean, as a comic book fan, I geeked out over the finals, like the big, like, kind of moment when spoiler warning, whatever, when he goes into the subatomic universe and you see all the effect. I mean, I thought that was amazing. And it
was really cool, yeah.
Yeah, and I geeked out to that, and like, I totally agree with you. It definitely deviated from what it wanted to be from, like, that point on, and then it was like, oh no, brains don't win overall, it's punch.
Exactly.
But I thought, it was one of my favourites because it's a good example of what Marvel can do when they're not on such reliant such as Avengers. Because like you said, Marvel are trying to deviate away from just being the typical superhero film. And I'd say, like you said, Winter Soldier, more a political thriller. I'd say Guardians of the Galaxy, sci-fi, hilarious fun. And then you have Age of Ultron, which kind of went back to that kind of superhero gimmicky thing. Yeah. But I thought it a lot darker than the original film, because you actually had consequences for their actions and things like that. You had actual death in the film, which, although I saw it coming, I was my housemate, we definitely didn't see it coming, and she was quite sad in the end, because she was like, no, that character, no.
Yeah, no, the comments on my videos ruined that for me, because it opened in other countries before America, and I was like, guys, please, do not comment spoilers. And immediately, everyone was like, this character dies. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
I seem to remember us talking about this point last time.
Yeah.
They're trying to move away from this cookie-cutter image, and then you have, on the other side, we have DC and Warner Brothers, and we have their two movies first one I'm going to talk about first is one that I'm most looking forward to, which is Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that looks fun.
And that looks really, really fun because I love anti-villains in the DC universe. They're such fun. Harley's one of my favourite characters. I mean, even Deadshot is going to be a good example to see that they can actually do kind of like a conflicted villain, in a sense, because he's not a villain for all the wrong reasons. He's trying to be a good dad, but then he's conflicted by the urges of being a killer and earning money and things like that. And then seeing that trailer, it was like, oh my god, it's gonna be cool. It's in this. And then I remember seeing that shot of Batman. I'm like, oh yeah, it's in the same universe as Man of Steel and that in that franchise.
So you were disappointed by that?
I was slightly. I mean, overall, I can't wait for this movie. I don't care if it's in the Affleck universe.
Yeah,
it's more to the point that I think it's connected now to that, and it's not like a single entity. Like take for example, the original Spider-Man franchise. They're not canon anymore and things like that. But when they first came out, that was amazing. Like it was the original thing that everyone was like, "Oh wow, this is cool, this is awesome." I mean, even going back to the original Superman film, like no one thought that was going to turn into what it did, and it was like, "Wow, it's amazing. The effects look amazing." Even though we look at it now, it's just a guy leaning on a box.
Yeah,
but we get that now, and it's not that unique anymore. And then you see a film like Suicide Squad where it's openly referring to gore, and you're gonna see people die. Yeah. But then the worst thing I don't want to happen is I don't want them to bottle it and think we'll make it a 12A, for kids. It should do what Deadpool does and actually take that risk and say, yeah, people are going to get brutally harmed in this film, and
it's called Suicide Squad.
It implies death in the title. So yeah, I'm overly excited for that film. What were your thoughts on the overall impression of what Suicide Squad gave you?
I really, really had fun watching the trailer. I watched it so much. Like around that same time, they had another Batman vs Superman movie. I'm going to preface this side note here. If I ever refer to Batman vs Superman as Batman Very Superman, that's a thing that happens on my podcast, and it's just become second nature to me, so I apologize if anyone gets confused by that. No, but yeah, there's at the same time another trailer for Batman vs Superman came out, and I was like, I didn't care about it. Like they showed a lot more of the characters. They showed, Wonder Woman. They showed Lex Luthor.
Wonder Woman, you mean 5.5 seconds? I beat 3.5 seconds.
Yeah. But so they showed off some more of these characters, and I was like, this is okay. And then Suicide Squad came out, and I was like, this is awesome. I love this.
I mean, I remember when the original lineup came out, it was like, yeah, we're gonna get Batman vs Superman. We're gonna get Aquaman. We're gonna get Cyborg, and I'm like, yay. And then it says, we're going to get Wonder Woman. I'm like, yeah, good steps in the right direction.
All right.
We're going to get Suicide Squad. I'm like, yeah, that's going to be awesome. Mm-hmm. And then I wonder, is it the Snyder universe now? Is it now the Snyder franchise? Because we have the lineup now. It's all the way up to 2021 or 22. And it's going to be, they've got Justice League already penned out. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, Suicide Squad trailer came out like pretty much like a date before Batman vs Superman, like properly on the internet, and then we had like a week for Batman vs Superman.
Yeah.
Or you could say that they didn't want to have to continuously say, "Oh yeah, it's this. We can't let people carry on just leaking it on the internet. We're just going to release it anyway."
Exactly.
So, would you say that people are more excited for that film over the one that they're banking on making the most money?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's just been my general opinion from seeing what everyone thinks on the internet. From the circles that I hang out in on the internet, I feel like more people are excited about Suicide Squad than they are about Batman vs Superman, because I feel like we've seen so many Superman and Batman movies, and people just want these new characters. And I know, Warner Brothers is going to say, like, well, Batman and Superman, those are the two that sell tickets, so we have to...
biggest superheroes in the world.
Exactly, so we have to put out movies, but at the same time, I feel like that's probably why they put Batman in the trailer of Suicide Squad, to remind people, like, oh, hey, you like Batman, he's kind of part of this, maybe you'll like this movie.
You're going to see Batman vs Superman, you should go and see this one too. Because it's all connected now, and we're actually building a universe.
Now, I have to ask you a question about this.
Oh, okay. All right, go.
Yeah. Because this is something I talked about on my podcast that I keep plugging like crazy right now. But
Nerd Sync Podcast, go check it out.
Nerd Sync Podcast, go check it out. iTunes and SoundCloud. Yeah, so we were talking about this idea of, obviously DC's and Warner Brothers are going to try to launch their connected universe where all the movies are intertwined with basically what Marvel's doing. Do you think it'd be a better idea to release the movies as these standalone movies, and if they make sense to interconnect them, or if people respond to them very well, then they could bring them into the universe afterwards, but keep the movie themselves?
That's a good question. Okay. I'd say yes and no, and I'll explain the no side first. It would be pretty ballsy of them. I'm just going to say one term anyway. It's money. Money is the central point of this kind of franchise that they're trying to build. And this is the yes side coming into it too, I think it would be a damn ballsy move to say, here are our separate movies, and then we'll interconnect them if people want them to.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, it could work if done the right way, if written by clever writers. They could say, oh, drop in little Easter eggs here and there, and then we can say, no, don't you remember? I was there in this city, and I was there in Metropolis when we burnt half of it down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, but overall, I would have, thinking about it now, I'd say if they are going for this franchise-like state now, because they're saying, Man of Steel, canon, Batman vs Superman, then Suicide Squad, then whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They're going for that feel. I'd say the only thing that's stopped them doing standalone films anymore is money. It's simply that. So they say, Man of Steel's coming out in 2012, and our next film's not going to be out until 2016.
Yeah. Yep. But I also feel like another reason why they're definitely not doing standalone films is because they're doing Justice League before a lot of the characters get their own standalone films.
They're doing Justice League, I think, if I remember rightly, they're doing Justice League in the same year as Wonder Woman.
Oh, really? Oh, man.
If I remember rightly, it's 2017. I mean, 2017 they're planning on releasing Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to say this because I've said it so many times. Although I applaud that they've got a cast and everything, they've said, Chris Pine's going to be Steve Trevor. Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman. No villain yet, but you could pick and choose whoever you want to with that film.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say we haven't actually heard her speak yet, and I know people are going to say, well, that's offensive because she's foreign. I'm going to say, no, it's not offensive, it's being generally concerned, because people have an overall idea of Wonder Woman. I don't. I honestly couldn't care less.
Mm-hmm.
But it's those people who go, oh yeah, Wonder Woman, she's the American vision of pure and hope, and people are going to look to her for a perfect vision of what she meant to stand for.
Mm-hmm.
And although I think she's Turkish, or I can't remember.
I think she's Israeli.
I mean, like I said, race isn't an issue, and language isn't an issue. It's just the fact that people have this image of the perfect Wonder Woman, and they're going to complain that it's not being fulfilled. And that's why they released the image of the costume, saying, no, it's right here, it's going to be here. Mm-hmm. And then they have it, and then they say... So they give her 3.5 seconds in the trailer. It's mostly devoted to Batman and some of Superman. And no speech, nothing yet.
Right. I feel like none of the characters have really spoken in a lot of in the
overall,
trailers yet.
I mean, say if you had to pick out someone who actually spoke the most, it'd be Alfred, because he has that one passage of text. And then Lex Luthor.
I would have said Lex Luthor. I feel like maybe a big part of it is just they don't, because even in Man of Steel, I felt like Superman didn't talk that much. No. He was just there to punch people, and that's basically it. And so I feel like a lot of it is just they don't really know how to, at least from what, in my opinion, from what we've seen from Man of Steel, they really don't know how to flesh out characters very well.
No, that is their main problem. They don't know how to flesh them out. I mean, they don't have the same luxury of time to do
that. Being said, though, the Suicide Squad trailer makes me feel like there are pretty fleshed out characters
and that's
in this movie.
Perfect juxtaposition for why this movie is going to look bad. They counteract their own argument by saying, no, we haven't had enough time. You've had 4 years to do this.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I do like the theory, though, that Aquaman sent the whales in Man of Steel, that one scene.
It's the whales. It's always the whales.
It's always the whales.
All right, so getting back to closing to like the full, like kind of the closing on all three companies now.
Yes,
and we'll highlight TV in a second. My overall question that we've been building towards is: how long before people get tired with this? How long before they get tired with superhero movies? Because it doesn't take much, because we've seen that from Fantastic Four, and regardless of whether or not that's from pretty shitty production and non-existent like communication with their fans, it's still a superhero movie with superhero style production, and it bombed, and people have vented their rage about this movie.
Yeah.
So the question is, how long before they get sick of Marvel doing this, and how long before they get sick of DC doing this?
I mean, that's a really, really tough question. I think that I'm going to try to answer.
Go ahead, please.
No, I don't have anything, but I do think that if Marvel plays their cards right, and I'm saying Marvel because they're the biggest one right now between Marvel and DC. For movies, anyway. Mm-hmm. If Marvel plays their cards right, they could keep making movies, but they would have to adapt. They would have to adapt to what the culture wants at the time, which is what I think they're slowly trying to do. So instead of every movie being an action movie with a different superhero, they're trying to spin them out into different genres with different superheroes. If they want to make a good Thor movie, embrace the genre of like a fantasy epic type of a movie instead of placing it on Earth all the time. And with Ant-Man, again, I want them to fully embrace the heist film, and I want them to fully embrace other genres, like a horror Marvel movie would be one of the most bizarre things to see, but it might be interesting if they tried their hand at it. So I feel like if they continue to adapt to what people want to see, depending on the culture at the time, then they could potentially go on for a really, really long time. But I do think that if it's just going to continue to be action movie, just switch out different superheroes for each one, then that could get really old really quickly. I don't know if it'll all stop at once, if there'll be one movie that just completely breaks the whole thing. But I feel like if they just keep trying stuff, like Guardians of the Galaxy was completely out there.
It was the hell out there.
And so... But it was really successful. People really responded to it, and I feel like they now have a license to try new things. Like maybe we'll get another Howard the Duck movie.
No,
but it might be better this time. I don't know.
How do you make something like that work? The answer is you don't.
The comics are all right. I feel like now they could just try to tap into it and embrace the idea that it's just so bizarre, and then really just ride that. And with DC though, it seems like they're getting into this pattern of all of our movies have to be the exact same,
dark and gritty.
Exactly. Yeah, there's not going to be anything separating them, and that's something that made the Avengers something really special, is because all these characters felt like they were from different places, and with DC, all of the characters they feel like they're from the same dark, gritty
corner of the world.
Exactly. Like Metropolis, like Superman's supposed to be like bright and shiny and all that stuff, and Batman is supposed to be kind of the polar opposite of like dark and brooding and stuff, but they both just feel the same to me. I don't feel a good contrast between the two. And when you have these other characters like, Green Lantern, who deals with outer space stuff, then you have Aquaman, who deals with under the sea stuff, and getting all of them together should be something that's like, this is crazy! They're all completely different people, but I have the feeling that it's just going to be like, oh no, they're all the same person, just with a different...
They've all just got different kind of They've all got different kind of writing, like speech patterns, and they're all going to be kind of the same people.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I feel like that's one of the more dangers of when comic book movies will stop being so popular, is when people are just going to get the same exact thing over and over again, then it's going to be like, ugh, why do we even bother at this point? I don't want to go see it. Yeah. But if they take chances, if they try to switch it up, do something different, like what Fox is doing with Deadpool, then yeah, I'd say that, or even, I know we're going to talk about TV shows in a minute, but even Daredevil was something that I totally did not expect from Marvel because of how completely different in tone it was to a lot of their movies. So I feel like as long as they keep changing it up, as long as they keep adapting, then they could potentially go on for maybe indefinitely. I don't know.
Well, okay, so I kind of want to jump onto that point as well. Mm-hmm. Like you said, Daredevil was something that no one kind of expected to see it coming, of how different it was to what Marvel were producing. I mean, even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. still kind of campy in that kind of superhero action genre style. Mm-hmm. And even Agent Carter, although kind of a bit of a breath of fresh air from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., was more historical, like Agent Spy, like Spy within the end of the Second World War.
I really liked Agent Carter a lot.
And you're not the only one. But like the point...
Good.
I mean, like, they've just came out this week, and like the producers on Jessica Jones are like saying, yeah, it's not going to be superhero show. It's more like a psychological thriller. People are going to be investigations and things like that. I'm looking forward to this. It's like the old Alias comics, which is a really good read. People should go and read that, by the way. Mm-hmm. And like you said earlier, you said people will get sick of getting cottoned onto the same thing continuously, and they have to adapt to change with the times. I'd say, because you see a pure example of that with Marvel. I mean, from D23 a couple of days ago, yesterday, you saw people with screenshots coming from Doctor Strange and like saying that they're embracing the magical side of things. You can see them, like him levitating cars and shooting things out of his hands.
I'm so excited for that movie.
And then you see more stuff from and I can't. The one movie that people know I'm looking forward to, and it's the one movie that I will always go and see. And it's my favourite superhero that I keep on banging on about. It's Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel. And I cannot wait for that movie because it's my favourite hero and I can't wait to see her on the screen. I mean, we got a great adaptation of her in Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes where she was Miss Marvel, but she was still such a kick-ass adaptation that I really enjoyed it. And then my main concern, not a worry, is that it comes out... It got bumped because of Marvel's deal with Sony with Spider-Man, which I was a little bitter about. Mm-hmm. And but the main fear is that Wonder Woman comes out in 2017, and then Captain Marvel comes out in 2019. Now, they're totally different people, totally different characters. But the main worry is that Wonder Woman doesn't do as good as people hope it would do. And then it just puts like a permanent black marker on female-led superhero films, and they go, "Oh, it's not going to work that well as we hoped. Maybe we need to like change it up a little." And although I have faith in what Kevin Feige has been doing, and he hasn't changed that much. I mean, yeah, obviously Ant-Man had to change, but that's not the point we're making. It's the point that people don't bottle it when they think things are going bad. Case in point, Fantastic Four. Nothing came out, and are they surprised that they got a shit response? No. Mm-hmm. And that is kind of my overall point. It's concerning that, yes, they are finally starting to kind of adjust their films to fit different genres, but only now they're thinking maybe people might get a little sick of them, so we're going to put our entire schedule, and we've put it all the way up to Infinity War, which will be the end of Phase 3, and then on from there. But I'm like... Well, will people be interested in what's going on from there? Because that's the end of your first story. That's the end of your first story arc with the Infinity Stones, because we go from Iron Man all the way to Infinity War, and that's 12 years worth of story. Will people want to carry on with these stories? Will people want to carry on with the same heroes? Because those heroes' contracts will be coming to an end. Like, they're done. Those actors are done with after those films. Mm-hmm. And then they have to rely on the new breed. They have to rely on Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Spider-Man. They have to rely on people to adapt to those new heroes and actually have fun with them. And then we're just ignoring DC now, but I don't care because they're the big boys in the sandbox right now. Marvel are the dominating force, and so, like you said, they have to change, or people will get sick of them. I mean, I remember an interview with a UK reviewer, Mark Kermode, who said basically when he sat down to see Captain America: Winter Soldier, he was expecting kind of the same situations he got from other Marvel films, and he was kind of disappointed at the end of it. Roll on to Guardians of the Galaxy, he said that was his favourite film of the year, and he'd happily carry on watching it, because he didn't expect Marvel to do this kind of weird kind of movie, which is such a weird thing for him to say, but he's like, yeah, favourite film of 2014, would carry on, I've seen it 3 times and I want to see it again. And like you said, they need to adapt, or they'll fade away into obscurity, and they'll say, yeah, that was the Marvel project, and towards the end, it was bright at the beginning, hopeful in the middle, and kind of faded at the end.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like
to go to like 2028 with their films, they need to change.
Yeah, I feel like what they need to do is maybe stop trying to create superhero films, but rather just try to create good films that just so happen to have superheroes.
Yeah, character-driven films that doesn't rely on the name.
Exactly.
So, kind of the final kind of wrapping up points. I do have a fan question for you, Scott.
Okay.
Are you ready to hear it?
I am so ready.
The question reads, Dear Scott, I see that on many of your profile pictures, you're hugging a comic of Venom. Could you explain why?
Yeah, so it's not a super exciting story, but earlier, I want to say last year, it was late, I can't remember when it was. I did a video about, what was it about? It was something about collecting comic books. Like, should we be collecting comic books? Or should we stop collecting comic books? Or something like that. And in the video, I had a point, like a part of it where I go, alright, so here's a Venom comic from, it's got a nice shiny cover on it. It's from my dad's collection. And I hold it up and I'm talking about, like, the cover price says, I can't even remember what the cover price said on it. It was maybe like $1.99 or something like that. And so I was like, yeah, so that's how much it was when it first came out. Let's talk about how much, let's look on eBay to see how much it is now. Oh, a dime. So obviously, if you're collecting them for money, then they're not going to pay off in the end like they used to in the 90s.
Unless you've got like the big original issues of things like Superman and Batman.
Yeah. Like if you have Golden Age comics, then of course they're going to be super, super profitable. But yeah, I mean, because I was talking about the collector bubble of the 90s, and so I was just, after I'd filmed that episode, I had the Venom comic up in the studio still, and I was like, you know what? I need a new profile picture. This is the only comic that I have near me. I'm just going to try to pose in a couple different ways and see what works best. And, well, at first I didn't even try to do the comic. I was just, like, trying to take a picture of myself with my good camera. And, some of them were okay, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pose with the comic books so that people know that I like comic books. And I have used that on so many profiles. Dozens of different profiles. And what's funny about that is, if you're familiar with Eris from Variant Comics, who has another comic book channel that's kind of popular on the internet. He has a very similar picture that he uses where he holds up a Venom comic book on a blue background, and I'm like, I did not even know that. And he actually tweeted at me and was like, oh, I see that you took inspiration from me. He kind of jokingly pointed out like that I copied from him or something. But we're friends, so it's fine. He didn't mean anything by it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know. Well, at this time we weren't super good friends, so I was like, I didn't even know that. He probably thinks I'm some sort of lunatic now for copying him. And I'm like, I didn't even notice that you were also holding a Venom comic. That was everything that in this picture is completely coincidental, or you have some sort of weird hypnotism powers that put that suggestion in my brain to do that. And that's the kind of boring story behind why that's the case.
Not boring at all. I actually thoroughly enjoyed that. And also, I have it's the current question that I've been going on for the past couple of interviews I've been doing. My question to you is, can you recommend 2 books that you would definitely recommend for people that are out right now?
2 comic books or book books?
Or comic books, I would say.
Okay. 2 comic books, like ongoing series, I assume.
Anything you want. Current series or like past releases, honestly.
I would say I always recommend this because it's one of my favorite runs. Warren Ellis's run on Moon Knight recently. It's the first 6 issues of the new Moon Knight run. Super good. Go check that out. Even if you don't know who Moon Knight is and you think he's stupid, I thought that too until I started reading this. He's become one of my favorites, and he is. There's just the first 6 issues. They're all one and done stories, so there's no connective storyline. It's just one issue is a complete story, and the artwork is beautiful, and it's so action packed and fast paced. It's fantastic. I say go check that out. Also, I'll say a continuing one that's out right now that I really am liking is Thor's. It's a Secret Wars tie-in. It's something that's totally out there and totally different, and I really, really like it. It's basically, think of a crime drama, but just all of the characters are different iterations of Thor, and it's awesome. So it reads like almost a police
like a police story, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like a cop drama on TV, except all of the cops are different versions of Thor. So you have like the lab tech is Throg, the frog version of Thor, and you have all these different, like Beta Ray Bill is like, he gets killed in the first issue and they're trying to solve his murder. It's super awesome. I say go check that one out.
Well, it's my recommendation time, and as I just plugged it earlier, I would say for a past release, go and read Alias. It's a fantastic read.
Yeah.
If you really want to get to know the character of Jessica Jones before the TV series goes out, that's the perfect read. I think it's honestly one of Bendis' best stories. It's one of his best runs on the books. Mm-hmm. And for current releases, I'm going to be kind of, out there. Just totally on the random side of things and say, you know what? Go and check out Secret Wars. No, I would honestly say, if you want a good series to for the last days of series that are coming out at the moment, I'd say Last Days of Miss Marvel will be a very good read because although it's at the ending of that current arc, go and read it. Miss Marvel has been one of the best series that Marvel's put out in a long while. But if you want a current issue that you want to go and read that I really enjoyed, I'd say Inhumans Attilan Rising. It's a really interesting story.
Oh, really? I haven't picked that one up.
Basically, the premise is that obviously all over Battle World we have different sections, different things like that. In this universe, in this world in this part of Battle World, you have Medusa, who is the ruler of that world, and Black Bolt is the leader of the Resistance. And he can actually talk in this. He doesn't just speak through telepathic. He full on speaks, and he has a club called the Quiet Room. But basically, it's all about saying because in the second issue, it has a great line. He says, this is the place where people can jump across Battle World, and then people can have a drink because you've got people from House of M, you've got people from Age of Apocalypse, you've got people from over here, and it's basically against the power and against the resistance. It's kind of like Star Wars in a way, but it's really fun, and it's cool seeing Medusa have that kind of evil side to her. And I think that's because of how well Marvel have built up the Inhumans over the past couple of years to say, yep, they're our new X-Men now. The X-Men, they're gone pretty much. So, Inhumans, they're cool, and I'd say go and pick up that issue. It's real. It's on issue 4 or 5 right now. But honestly, go and pick it up. It's a hell of a lot of fun. Awesome.
Can I recommend one more that I just thought of?
Go on then.
Okay. It's not superhero related, but it's one called I think it's called We Stand on Guard, and it is basically I read it. It feels a lot like Red Dawn plus giant robots. So it's U.S. versus Canada in the future.
Of course.
I know, right? It's U.S. versus Canada in the future. We're reading from the side of the Canadians, and the Americans are these brutal people who have giant robots and are just going and killing everybody. It's super good.
I shall have to give that a look. It actually sounds quite fun.
There's a big monologue in the first issue about how Superman is actually Canadian. It's really great. It's really great stuff.
All right, so time to kind of close this interview to the close. this was real fun talking to Scott again.
Hey!
If people people will probably contact me again saying, "Getting back on the show again." But honestly, it was great having you here, Scott, talking about the superhero movie genre, and I can't wait to have you again. Alright, so this was real fun talking to Scott again.
Hey!
If people people will probably contact me again saying, "Getting back on the show again." But honestly, it was great having you here, Scott, talking about the superhero movie genre, and I can't wait to have you again on the show soon.
Absolutely.
And so, to all of you out there, have a good day. Subscribe and like the channel if you wish, and you could do me a great favour and, favourite the video or subscribe or like. It really helps me out, and it helps people like Scott out as well.
Yeah.
Subscribe to Scott's channel as well, which is NerdSync Productions. And,
That's right.
Well, until next time, ta-ta, my friends. And that is the